What's up, guys? Welcome back to Among the Fence, where I do music reviews. And if you got anything you want me to review, new, old, album, EP, single, whatever, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what it is. We'll throw it up on the whiteboard and it'll be featured on a Request Wednesday. And if you do that, or you just happen to like what you see here, please don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell icon. That way you don't miss out on any of my future content. But for today, we're going to be talking about the EP With Blood by the band Sanction. Sanction is kind of a weird band because they're not that big, so there isn't a whole bunch of information floating around out there about them. But different resources say that they're a metalcore band or maybe just a rock band. But after listening to them, they have a lot of death metal influences and a lot of hardcore influences. I would label them in one of those genres if I was going to be super specific, even though I'm not like super knowledgeable about different subgenres of metal and death metal and all that. But I believe they started around 2015. It could be 2014. I also believe that they might be from Rhode Island, and I think that they only have like one album and a couple EPs released. I sent them a message on Instagram hoping to get some information from them. I probably didn't give it enough time, but I mean, I'm a small YouTube channel and a small Instagram account, and they're a band that has quite a bit bigger following than me. So I'm sure that my message got lost somewhere in there. But this is the best I was able to get. I'm sure I might be wrong. If you're a fan of this band and you know more about me, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know like if I got any information wrong at all, letting me know what it is, because I am actually kind of curious. With Blood is actually their first EP, which was titled With Blood Left Uncleansed, and it came out in 2015. They're re-releasing it now with a couple more songs on there. I believe the EP was originally 5 songs, and now they're releasing it with 8. The EP starts out with the song Introduction, which is a typical kind of build-up intro song, which has a pretty nasty riff in it though, and honestly some pretty great drum work. And it leads into the second song, which is Iris, or Lens of Depression, and it's very drum forward, especially kind of in tone. It's just the drums are very prominent in the mix, and they kind of overpower a lot of things. It still sounds great, but I just felt like they're very overpowering. The main riff is pretty driving, and the vocals sound absolutely phenomenal. I'm starting to actually enjoy this vocal style quite a bit more. And a lot of people say it's more of a hardcore style vocals, but honestly, like, it reminds me a lot of Death and like Extol and bands like that, which are considered death metal bands. So I'm not really sure. Like I said, if you know more about subgenres, go ahead and leave a comment below telling me I'm stupid and explaining why it's either one or the other, because sometimes I have such a hard time figuring it out. And I love the heavy interlude that comes after the first chorus, and then the vocals come back in with like a really haunting guitar tone, and the breakdown towards the end of the song has a very 2015 throwback feel to. Actually, it reminds me a lot of breakdowns that you would hear in like 2005 when like Under Oath and bands like that were coming up. And the 5th song on this EP, or the 3rd song on the original EP, is Uncleansed, which comes in screaming with a big old fat riff, and it has tons of double bass, and I really enjoy how dynamic this riff is. And I love how it sits in the front of the mix, and just before the chorus, the vocals cut out, and you just hear this amazing music for about maybe 2 or 3 bars. It just goes on, and it was inspiring to me. It made me want to go pick up my guitar and just start riffing it out and try and figure out what this song was. And the breakdown really amps up the heaviness. It kicks it into high gear. That's such an old person thing to say. But it brings in super slow chugs and a lot more double bass. Every Empty Word is an extremely groovy song with a more open drum beat to it. I really love the enunciation in the vocals in this song too. I wasn't really able to find lyrics on any of these songs from this EP, but given the title of this song and a couple of things I picked up here and there, I'm assuming this is about like broken promises and someone like lying to someone else or whatever. But the build-up in this song, especially using the vocals about halfway through, it just builds up and up and up. And once it hits that peak, it peaks hard. The next song, Pushed Along, Weeded Out, starts out with this kind of creepy spoken word intro, and the verses have a very dissonant guitar riff, which sounds honestly pretty great, especially for like a 2015 era EP. And then the choruses have these huge chords, which is, I mean, they sound gigantic, and it makes the chorus sound even more epic. And the breakdown is face melting, and in between the chugs, they added in like these little pretty guitar parts, and it works out so well. It sounds so great. This is probably my favorite song on the whole EP. And now we get to the 3 songs that weren't on the original EP. The first one being To Embody an Empty Thought, which has like this kind of weird mix to it. It almost sounds like it was recorded in like a hall. It sounds very hollow. Like the vocals sit behind all the music, so it sounds like he's trying to scream out in front of it, and it just isn't working. And it's actually a pretty nice touch, especially since the guitar just sounds so huge and angry and aggressive, while another guitar plays like these little pretty melodies, especially in the chorus. And it kind of gives it like this really dark atmosphere. I mean, it sounds so fantastic. And I mean, this one might actually be my favorite song on the EP. It's so hard to pick. All these are so great. The next song is Cracks of a Broken Past, and it starts out with a more dynamic riff that has tons of legato, which hasn't really been seen on this EP yet. I'm not really sure when these tracks were recorded, if they're recorded at the same time, or they were just recently added on, and I'm not, maybe they were forgotten tracks that weren't put on the EP. I'm not completely sure. The pre-chorus build-up in this song is absolutely perfect, and super, super chuggy, huge chorus. And then there's some tremolo picking, and then bring back the double bass. And the vocals seem to be pushed a little bit harder, like physically. It seems like he's reaching a little bit more, trying to push them. It sounds like not really in the mix, they don't seem pushed, but as a vocalist, he seems to be pushing his limit a little bit more. And I really love the emotion that comes out of it. And the last song on this album is the interlude, which isn't really anything, to be completely honest. It's like a minute of like this atmospheric thing. Best way to describe it is like, it just feels like something evil is coming. Or, I don't know, like something wicked this way comes. And honestly, this EP is a lot more than what I was expecting to be. I've never really listened to Sanction before this. I wasn't really sure what I was expecting. I saw them on Instagram, saw that they were just putting out something new. I was like, yeah, I'll check it out. And then I started looking into it, and I became more and more interested and listened to it. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll do a review on this after just one song. And I gotta say, I quite enjoyed this EP a lot. But there was some things that stuck out to me that I didn't really care for all that much. Specifically, like the snare drum has kind of like a Saint Anger thing going on, and I believe that has to do with the mix. And honestly, this genre of like hardcore, like death metal thing, it just isn't as smooth over, and it's very poppy sounding, but it doesn't really hurt your ears all that much either. It just fits everything pretty well. It's just something I noticed every once in a while. But what does make up for it is the tone on the double bass. The bass drum just sounds so fantastic, and the guitar tones, I feel like they didn't change anything on any of their settings while they were recording this. They just plugged it in and they just jammed all the way through this whole thing. And they're like, yeah, my guitar sounds great. Let's move on to the next song. And that was basically it. And it pays off really well, especially for something that's older and it has just that very retro feel to it. So with all that said, I got to give With Blood by Sanction a 4.8 out of 5. But I want to know what you guys think. If you've listened to With Blood before, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what you thought. If you haven't listened to it yet, and if you're interested, honestly, this reminds me of like old school Under Oath and like Changing the Times, or like I said, Death, or Nodes of Ranvier, if anybody's ever heard of that band before. It reminds me a lot of just, like, came out in like 2015. I wouldn't be surprised if they wrote a lot of these songs quite a bit sooner. So if it's something you're interested in, go ahead and give these songs a couple listens and let me know what you would rate it. And if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon. That way you don't miss out on any of my future uploads, especially if you leave a request for Request Wednesday. I usually see a lot of those, and I end up putting them on the whiteboard, do the review on it. And a lot of people who leave these requests usually don't end up coming back to see them, which makes me pretty sad. So yeah, don't forget to click the little bell icon. That way you get notified when I do your review. And I hope you guys all have a good rest of your day and you're staying safe. And I will talk to you guys next time.
I was trying